بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين، وصلى الله وسلم وبارك على المبعوث رحمة للعالمين نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه ومن اهتدى بهديه واستنى بسنته إلى يوم الدين. أما بعد، السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته, and welcome to this 72nd class on Islamic Fiqh. We stopped last class while defining and discussing the importance of judging, arbitrating between those who dispute, and how to solve conflicts, and the importance of that, and the dangers of doing that without knowledge or without being fair. And we will talk today, inshallah, about the manners and values to be observed by judges. You see, a judge is not a position that you apply to, and according to your job description, you are selected. There are many aspects beyond that. And this is why scholars paid a great deal, and gave a lot of importance to the fact of selecting a suitable judge, bearing in mind that his characteristics, his manners, and his attributes exceed the job description. And we can see clearly why scholars gave this issue great importance. One corrupt judge can spoil the whole country. And this is obvious in third world countries, and sometimes even in the first world countries, in the civilized world. When you have a corrupt judge, that his vote, his verdict, his ruling can be the decisive issue over a dispute, then you have big problems. In civilized worlds, we know that companies, oil companies, that are greatly involved in polluting the environment, pay a lot, an arm and a leg, through their campaigns, whether over the table or under the table, to pass laws and regulations supporting their jobs. And they can afford that. We know that tobacco companies did the same over the past 40, 50 years. Nowadays, we know that pharmaceutical companies are doing the same thing via various ways, let alone the political side and how the judges are politicized and they give their verdicts according to the ruling party and what they say. If you look at civilized countries where they have the Supreme Court, and how the nomination of one of the judges in such courts is badly affected by the political arena, which party you follow. So the president has the right to nominate, and he would not nominate, he would not approve except those who follow his party, and the Senate and the Congress does the same thing. So it is totally polluted, and it is a filthy process, especially when there are politics involved. In Sharia, a judge has to be independent. And in some schools, it says that the ruler must not be the one who's giving him his salary or his allowance so that his judgment would not be negatively impacted. Rather, it should be taken straight from Baytul Mal. And this is something that is way above our pay grade, but it gives you a glimpse when you look at how the judges are selected, not on their merits or on their religious commitment and the knowledge of Islam, rather on their political agenda or their inclination to follow whoever pays more. And again, this brings us back to the hadith of the Prophet ﷺ, which we mentioned last class. Judges are of three types, 2 in hell and 1 in paradise. So what are these manners and values? Number 1, a judge should have a strong character and be held in high esteem. So he has to have a strong personality, a person who is not easily manipulated. And if there were someone who can be easily manipulated and his decision-making process can be hampered by influence of those standing in front of him, such as when you have a powerful opponent who's pushing towards what he thinks is his rights, and the judge is a bit weak, can be easily influenced. Or a woman who cries tears and weeps in front of him, and he feels soft. This is not a good judge. A good judge is someone who has a strong personality without being arrogant nor violent. He has to be soft-hearted. The Prophet ﷺ was soft-hearted, and we all have lots and lots of hadiths to prove this. He used to cry and weep when one of his companions used to be on the deathbed, or when one of his grandchildren died. But this would not at all mean weakness, because he himself said, by Allah, if Fatima, the daughter of Muhammad, were to steal, I would have chopped her hand for that. So he doesn't, alayhi salam, become weak. But this soft of heart is something needed in a ruler, in a public servant, in someone who takes care of people's affairs without being weak. Number 2, he should be careful and forbearing. And this is also important. When you have absolute powers, when you are able and you know you can harm someone, if you're not careful and forbearing, Satan can make a big mess out of an impulsive decision. So when someone comes and starts to talk in an abusive way, and you are the judge, and everybody is listening and watching and anticipating, what will you do? Should you throw him in jail for contempt of court? Should you rule for his opponent's favor, regardless of who's right and who's wrong? This is something that every judge has to have at the back of his mind, that Allah will hold you accountable for what you say and do. So you need to be careful and forbearing so that you're not angered by what parties or of the dispute they may do or say. Number three, he should be intelligent and alert. And this is something you cannot get in a CV. When we sit and talk, sometimes you get A students unable to understand a joke. You have to repeat the story twice so that they can comprehend it. Sometimes they can't read between the lines. Though they are A students, and this is not suitable for a person to be a judge. A judge has to be alert, has to be smart, intelligent, capable of reading between the lines, understands gestures, facial expressions, can tell when a person is nervous or he's simply not. Sometimes a person's nervousness means that he's lying, and sometimes it's a natural thing when you stand in front of a judge and you see the police, etc. So he has to know how to differentiate. You cannot learn this at school. You need to get this gift from Allah Azza wa Jal. Yes, you can improve it a bit with experience, but a dumb person, even if he's good academically, would not be a good judge. And unfortunately, we have many people who are excellent academically. They're good in research. But when it comes to writing a thesis or a document, they're excellent. But when it comes to giving a verdict, when they speak, when they're told to solve or arbitrate a dispute, they fail miserably because they're not cut to such work. So a judge has to be fair, he has to be intelligent, and he has to be quick to understand and read between the lines and see and find contradictions that would help him reach the true and correct verdict. Number four, he should be a man of integrity and probity. So he has to be a person who walks the talk. He has to be a man of Allah, a man of God. In Islam, in Sharia ruling, it's not acceptable to have a judge like we have in most Muslim countries, who's clean shaven, who wears Western clothes that goes below his ankle, who smokes, who attends mixed gatherings because the ruler told him to do so, where there is music, free mixing, maybe even worse. And this is a deficiency that can't be accepted in a Muslim, let alone in a man of law who rules by the Sharia. I'm not talking about secular regimes. I'm talking about Islamic regimes. A Muslim judge who runs after this dunya, who attends mixed gatherings, mixes with unveiled non-Muslim women on camera, and then we expect him to be a suitable Muslim judge giving Islamic verdicts. This is not believable or possible. Number five, he should be content, truthful, and able to make his own judgment. So a judge has to be a person of integrity. He has to be capable of coming up with a judgment, decisive, not hesitant. Ali ibn Abi Talib, may Allah be pleased with him, said, "No one may be a true judge unless he has 5 qualities: probity, forbearance," we spoke about those, having thorough knowledge of what has passed before him. This is similar to what the Shafi'i said. So he has knowledge of previous cases in Islam and what were the verdicts of true scholars and companions, etc. Ready to consult people of wisdom. He's not hesitant. If he does not have the knowledge himself, he should go and consult. So if it's an issue of medical error, he has to consult doctors, surgeons, to get their opinion. If it's an economic issue, he has to consult economists, businessmen, people of the trade. And he has to be brave, fearing no one other than Allah. A judge that is easily intimidated by the ruler, by the governor, by businessmen, he cannot never give a true Sharia compliant verdict. This is why it is important, and this is why this is not applicable. It is important that judges have independence. And whenever scholars, judges, students of knowledge are independent and not reliant on the ruler to provide for them, to control their livelihood, whether to give them the salary or not, whether to change their job location from this city that they've been living all their lives into somewhere remote as a form of punishment for not complying with his instructions, then you have a problem. Number 6, it is strictly forbidden that a judge should speak to either of the two parties to a dispute in secret, or to favor one of them over the other, or to teach either of them how to make his argument or present his evidences. This is an important issue. In history, we have a number of stories and cases where the judge would do something that an opponent or the person himself would object to it. So once it is reported that a Jew found an armor or a shield, so he took it, and when the Khalifa, the Muslim ruler Ali ibn Abi Talib, saw it, he claimed it and he said, "No, this is mine, I lost it." So the Jews say, "I found it, it's mine." So Ali took the Jew to the Muslim judge. Though he was the ruler, he could have done anything. Nobody would have objected to that. So when the judge heard about the Khalifa coming to court with his opponent, when Ali came in, he said, "Assalamu alaikum, O Caliph Abul Hassan." So he nicknamed him. And Ali said, "This is wrong. Here, I'm not a caliph. I'm one of the defendants or the prosecutors, whatever they call them. Here, I'm just like any other person. You should not say Abul Hassan to me, nicknaming me. You should say Ali." So the judge immediately rectified his mistake and synchronized He's thinking with what he has to do, which is to rule by Sharia, not by favorism, not because he's a Jew. You rule against him. So he told them, okay, what is your problem? What is the issue? So Ali said, this is my armor, this is my shield I lost, and this Jew claims that it is his. So he asked the Jew, is it yours? So the Jew said, yes, I found it, it's mine. So the judge looked at Ali and said, okay, do you have any proof to support your claim that it's yours? Ali said, no, I don't have any proof. So the judge said, I'm afraid I cannot rule for you because you have to prove that it is yours. Ali said, you're right, I have no case here. The story says that the Jew witnessed this and said, are you kidding me? A judge rules against the caliph for a Jew? This is not possible. This is unbelievable. This can only happen in a true religion of Allah. I bear witness there is no God worthy of being worshipped but Allah, and Muhammad is his servant and messenger. So we have to have this ability not to favor people over others. And this is why a judge is truly a difficult job to take. And it is one heck of responsibility. And this is why in the Salaf, like 80%, 90% of scholars would turn this position down, would never accept to be judges, though they were overqualified. But they were so afraid of the responsibility and of the problems that it could bring them when it is with Allah Azza wa Jal. Number 7, it's also forbidden for a judge to give his ruling when he is in the state of anger. So a judge has to be mentally stable, whether permanently, of course, or temporarily, because there are times when a person is temporarily unstable mentally. For example, the Prophet said, alayhi salatu wasalam, regarding the issue of anger, no arbiter between two disputants may give a ruling when he is angry. You should not judge two people when you're angry. Anything could set you off. Anything can trigger an impulsive, unrealistic, unfair judgment. So when you're angry, if you're standing up, sit down. If you're sitting down, lie down. Seek refuge in Allah from the shaitan. If it's in a public hearing or in a court and one of the people, one of the disputants angers you, says something that is inappropriate, and you feel angry because of that, whether it's a direct insult to your color, to your ethnicity, to whatever, you should adjourn the court and postpone it for another day until you become calm and normal back again. And this cascades to anything that can blur your vision, anything that would hamper your decision making, such as worries, fears, hunger, thirst, fatigue, illness, even hot weather. Imagine if you are in a court and the ACs, the air conditioners, go off and the technician says it's going to take 3-4 hours, and you are sweating like crazy, especially here in Arabia, the judge must not look into any case, no matter how severe his verdict is needed. It has to be adjourned. And maybe we can add to that why women cannot be judges. Imagine a woman on her menses and how her temperament fluctuates and changes. Here we have a problem. And this suits her like a glove. She must not judge because of her change of mood that would impact her decision making. Number 8, it is forbidden for a judge to take a bribe. And Islamically, this is a well-known established fact. The Prophet said, may Allah curse the one who gives a bribe, when seeking a ruling, and the one who takes it. So both giver and taker are cursed by Allah Azza wa Jal. And this goes without any questioning. Whether you're a judge, whether you're a clerk, whether you're a paper pusher, a public servant, an official, anyone who gets money or compensation because of his position, this is a bribe. Number 9, something a bit similar but different, which is to take gifts from both or either party to the dispute. So what is the difference between a bribe and a gift? If I go to the court and I give the judge an envelope with money in it without any prior acquaintance, this is a bribe. But if I know the judge and I send him a gift, either there is a pending case or there's no case at all. If there is a pending case and I send the judge, who happens to be a cousin, a schoolmate, someone I know from a long time, a neighbor, any acquaintance, if I send him a gift, it is prohibited for him to take, because this is a bribe, though I am a friend, a real friend of his. If there is no case pending and I send him a gift, the judge has to analyze. Am I the kind of person who, before him assuming such a position as a judge, used to give him gifts or not? See, I could know Abdullah for 20 years. Never ever in my life had given him or sent him a gift. Only last year he was appointed as a judge. And since last year, he's been noticing that I'm giving him and sending him gifts. In this case, he must not accept these gifts and must return them back. But if for the past 20 years, Abdullah and I were best friends and cousins, relatives, neighbors, whatever, and he sends me gifts and I send him gifts whenever I come from a journey, I bring him a gift, and his children, in this case, there's no problem for the judge to accept such gifts because they're not given because of his position. And likewise, wherever there is a possibility of favorism, the judge has to cut that out, because so many cases, and we see this in Arabia, when someone comes to a public office, he comes in uniform, whether he's in the Army, Navy, Air Force, or even the police, so that the judge or the clerk or the official would facilitate things for them quicker. So they're using their uniform to influence, whether it's the role or the turn they have to assume, or whether to pull some strings here or there. Therefore, scholars say that a judge is unlike any other job. So if I were to be a judge in a court, it would be a bit embarrassing if I go shopping and I go to the grocery shop next to my home and I buy things and the owner knows me, so he gives me a discount. Why are you giving me? Oh, you're our judge. You're our honorable judge. We have to serve you. We have to. Oh, he's doing this because of my position, not because of the length of my beard. So, if it is best to appoint someone who's unknown in the community to do my shopping, to do my groceries, to do things where I don't have to get in contact with the public, so that no red tapes would be cut. Number 10, a judge may not rule on any case in which he or any relative of his is party, particularly when he cannot be a witness in a case involving such a relative. So this is logical more than Islamic, because people are weak by nature. And when one of the disputant is your son or your brother, you're a human being. We cannot guarantee that you will have the fairness to rule against your own brother or son. And this is why in so many cases in schools of thought, they prohibit a judge from looking into a case where he has close relatives being involved in it. Not even in marriage contracts. We know that the ma'dhoon, and we spoke about that earlier, and we said that the ma'dhoon is the person, the clerk, who writes and authenticates the marriage contract. In Saudi Arabia, even if the ma'dhoon, who's the clerk, he's not giving approvals or anything, he's just writing the contract, cannot conduct the marriage of his own son or daughter. He has to bring a colleague to do that for him, so that his judgment is not introduced, is not affected by his relation. So if he's conducting his son's marriage and the woman demands conditions and he claims to write them and he manipulates them, these conditions are final. So he may take sides. So this is something that one has to be careful, that the judge should not look into cases that are of his relatives, nor of his enemies, by the way. So if a case comes in front of you and one of the disputant was someone accused of bashing and beating your brother in 2-3 years ago in a quarrel, it went to a court of law, etc., and it was over, you still hold a grudge against that person. So looking into his case would be sort of unfair to him and would be dangerous in hampering your own decision. Number 11, a judge may not rule in any case on the basis of his own knowledge of the event or of the case. What does that mean? It means that a judge has to be objective, has to be, I don't know if the word is that, impartial, must not get involved on a personal level. I'll give you an example. I saw a man who was totally drunk. Let me not use this example. I saw a man having intercourse with a non-mahram woman, and I saw that with my own eyes. So I went to court and summoned the man and accused him of adultery or fornication, based on the fact that I'm a judge and I saw it. Immediately the man would appeal to a higher court, accuses the judge of slandering him, and demanding the presence of 4 male witnesses who saw him committing fornication. The judge will definitely fail in doing so, hence he will be flogged 80 lashes. But I'm the judge. I saw it. Yes, you saw it, but you don't have the authority to judge people like that. It's you are like anyone else. You need 4 witnesses. Likewise, when I see someone stealing, it's not sufficient. There have to be 2 witnesses. In Sahih al-Bukhari, if I'm not mistaken, it was reported that Isa ibn Maryam, peace be upon him and upon his mother, Jesus, the son of Mary, saw a man stealing. So Jesus caught him red-handed. And he said, "You stole." And the man said, "Wallahi." He swore by Allah, "Wallahi, I did not steal." Isa, Jesus, peace be upon him, let him go and said, "I believe in Allah, the one whom you took his name. I believe in Allah, and I falsify my own 2 eyes. My eyes are lying." And why did he do such a thing? Scholars said, first, because he's a judge, he cannot rule based on his own testimony and knowledge. Secondly, there could have been a misinterpretation. So the money that the thief took was his father, and this is not stealing. It could have been the money that someone embezzled him and stole from him, so he's taking his right. There can be many justifications, which, to be safe rather than sorry, Prophet Isa, peace be upon him, let the man go. Number 11 or 12. A judge should appoint any assistant he may need, such as a clerk to write down the proceedings, a doorman, an interpreter, etc., so that he devotes himself solely to looking into the cases submitted to him. And this is logical. Such a high position requires assistance, and he requires a driver, he requires a clerk, he requires a guard, he requires a bellboy to take messages from and to different departments, etc. So he needs a full department to serve him, so that he would have his head free to rule. And this includes, by the way, servants in the house, a driver, so that he doesn't have to answer the question during working hours from his wife telling him not to forget to bring the milk and the eggs. This is not my job. I'm a judge. I have bigger fish to fry. So take all of this off my head and take care of it so that I can take care of what is needed in Sharia. Number 13, a judge must give his ruling on the basis of the Quran and the Sunnah. And this is important. A judge is not a person who graduated from Sharia school or from a college and was appointed, and then he looks into cases and gives verdicts right, left, and center without referring to the Quran and the Sunnah. No, he has to be a truly highly decorated student of knowledge. And 99% of those graduating from Islamic universities and colleges are not fit to rule. I've had the honor to sit with hundreds of them. And wallahi, some of them even don't have the basics of knowledge, though they've graduated. Why? The reason is that they're good in solving questions at tests and exams, but they don't have the spirit to think freely, to cross-examine evidences. They're not students of knowledge. They're simply students. If you had put them in medicine school, they would have passed. If you had put them in engineering school, they would have passed. Not necessarily that they're gifted to such a specific field. So a judge in Islamic law is different than a law student who graduates and works for a year or two in a law firm and then starts to do his own trials and participates in looking into cases. Here, a judge has to be a person who fears Allah, who walks the talk, who is fair, who is mentally stable, who is not having any favoritism to anyone, and who knows what he's doing. He has knowledge from the Quran and from the Sunnah. Otherwise, he would have ruled cases and gave judgment according to his whims and desires. If such a person meets a ruling that is way above his pay grade, he doesn't know. His knowledge does not reach the level of this case that is being presented to him. He must not have any hesitation to go and ask the Grand Mufti, for example, or someone who is way more knowledgeable than him, to guide him, to teach him, and then he would give the verdict according to his comprehension and understanding. Number 14, and we conclude with this inshallah, a judge must be absolutely fair for both parties. And this is the essence of judging people. Actually, it is the essence of this whole universe. Because with justice, with fairness, the heavens and the earths were built. Allah Azza wa Jal is just. One of his attributes is that he's just. And life cannot go without justice. It cannot go on. Even in a household, if a man is not fair and just to his wife, life is unbearable. If a father is not fair and just between his offspring, the Prophet said, ﷺ, don't make me a witness on such injustice. If a person is unable to be fair with his co-workers, with his subordinates, with his superiors, if you're unable to be fair when you buy and sell, when you deal with your neighbors, when you have a dispute, when you quarrel, when you fight, then life cannot go on. And unfortunately, this is what we see all over the world. Pure injustice. Straight, simple. And this is why we need justice and fairness. If a judge does not have this in him, then we have a problem. Now, It is a very dangerous position to assume. We go to courts in the Muslim world and we see how judges differ. You find a judge, when you enter the court, it's your turn, and you say Assalamu alaikum, and he doesn't reply to you. He doesn't even raise his head to look at you. When he speaks to you, he doesn't even smile. This type of a judge thinks that Allah chose him because of his merits, because he deserves to be a judge, not knowing that there are thousands of people better than him and more worthy of this position than him. Some judges, when you enter and say Assalamu alaikum, you find him looking at you with a big smile. Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Come in. Yes, what can I do for you? You speak first. No, wait for my friend. Let the other person speak. Yes, please don't interrupt him. So polite, so discreet, so intellectual. This is a good judge. Whether he'll go places or not, this depends on the decision from way up. But he's a decent person. He's a good judge. He has a good resume. He did good. He did well in college. He has lots of recommendations from scholars. That's a decent person. You look at some judges and you find them filthy rich. And I'm talking about corruption. No way a paper pusher or a normal judge would have hundreds of millions in his bank account. Most of them are smart. They put the money in their wives, in their children's, in their relatives, in real estate. But where do they think they will end up? Life is short. So one way of thinking is, let's make the best of it. And on the day of judgment, we will ask Allah for forgiveness. Or maybe when we retire, or when we are fired from our jobs, we would have secured enough millions and billions. We will go to Mecca, make Umrah, make Hajj. Allah is most forgiving. Others would say, no, this is not possible. We have to walk the talk. We don't want Allah to deprive us of our barakah, in our health, in our wealth, in our offspring, in everything we do, because of consuming such haram and doing such haram. Anyhow, I think this brings us to the end of today's session, and we have like 15 minutes to look into the questions. So the first question I got, it's not from the list. And by the way, I recommend, if possible, that you post your questions so that the administration would send me these questions to answer them, because I have very little of them every now and then, and it's not sufficient to have a full-fledged 1 hour dedicated for questions, which I would like to do. So if you can search for where to post questions, whether on the Facebook itself or on the website islamicfiqh.net, and post your questions so that we can collect them and inshallah designate a full day for that. So the first question, which I got from one of the students which I did not come across during hunting and foods. The question says that we know that the dog's saliva is najis. So what's the ruling when we use the dog as a tool to hunt game? And that's a very good question. The answer is that Allah Azza wa Jal mentioned in the Quran to eat from whatever these trained dogs catch for you, and remember the name of Allah or mention the name of Allah. So if I get my trained hound and I see a rabbit and I tell my hound, catch, and my hound runs after the rabbit, and I say Bismillah, and my hound runs and it catches the rabbit, I can eat. Allah did not mention in the Quran I should wash. Now, some schools of thought, such as Shafi'i school of thought, and one of the verdicts of Imam Ahmad and others, say that you have to wash the area where the dog has bitten because it's najis. And some even went further to say wash it 7 times with water and 1 with soil. And the most authentic opinion, and this is the second opinion, which is the opinion of Sheikh Islam ibn Taymiyyah and also Sheikh ibn Uthaymeen, may Allah have mercy on their souls, say that this is negligible and overlooked, because neither in the Quran nor in the Sunnah we were commanded to do this, though the issue of dogs hunting was mentioned in the Quran, and also it was mentioned in a number of hadiths. So the Prophet had never ever ﷺ mentioned it. So it seems that this is overlooked, and the tendency is what is halal was mentioned, what is haram was also mentioned, and what was not mentioned, it is something that Allah has forgiven us, and this is part of what was forgiven, so we should not look into it, and Allah knows best. Yamina says, I need an advice. How could I make myself more close to Allah and have more barakah in my life? Well, I don't know if we've answered this before or not, or somewhere else. I get confused. To get close to Allah Azza wa Jal, you have to do what Allah mandated upon you. And Allah says in the authentic hadith, al-Hadith al-Qudsi, وَمَا تَقَرَّبَ إِلَيَّ عَبْدِي بِأَحَبَّ مِمَّا افْتَرَضْتُهُ عَلَيْهِ. My servant would not get closer to me with things better than the things that I have mandated upon him. So do the things that are mandatory upon you, big and small. Stay away from things that are prohibited for you, big and small, and do a lot of voluntary deeds as much as possible, and you will get barakah in your life, and you will get closer to Allah Azza wa Jal. Prince Thomas says, is it permissible to eat snails? Snails that live on earth, in water, definitely it is permissible to eat, whether alive or dead. Snails that live on trees that do not live in water or live on earth, it's an issue of dispute, and the most authentic opinion that it is permissible to eat as well, and Allah knows best. Madiha says, lizards should be killed. Is it so? The answer is yes. The jackal, not this Serbian Djokovic, the tennis player. No, the house lizards that you see on the walls, these lizards are to be killed. And the Prophet said, if you kill them in the first strike, you get 100 good deeds. If you don't manage to kill it in the first strike because they're too quick and fast and they run here and there, but you hit it in the second and you kill it, you get lesser good deeds. And if you kill it in the third strike, you get lesser and lesser. And there was a hadith in Sahih al-Bukhari that when the idol worshippers built a huge fire to throw Ibrahim, peace be upon him, in it, all animals and insects try to put it off, except for the lizard. It helped them ignite it. So our enmity and hatred to the lizard is religious, not because it's a repulsive insect, which is, but because it helped against Prophet Ibrahim, peace be upon him, and Allah Azza wa Jal knows best. Shabina says, what about grafts used for medical use? I think she is referring to grafts, not grafts. If she's meaning grafts and the drawings that one uses for medicine, such as drawing a skeleton or the digestive system or the nervous system or whatever, these are all permissible to do, inshallah, without any problem. Angel says, what about the use of taser on animal before slaughtered? I think she means that electrical shocks. What's the ruling on that? If this electrical shock is used to sedate the animal and make it easier to be slaughtered, this is permissible because it's still alive after being tased or shocked with electricity. It is still alive, so slaughtering it is halal. But is it recommended or not? No, it's not recommended, because it is a form of torturing the animal, and this is not permissible. But as a halal slaughter, it is halal. If the electrocution kills the animal before slaughtering, then it is a dead meat. Mubashir says, can we pray dua in namaz for kids to be better in sport? You can ask Allah anything that is halal during your prayer. So if you want your child to be good in sports because it's a healthy thing, it's a competitive thing, and there's no haram involved, no problem in that. But if you want him to be a celebrity, someone who's famous, and we know the negative impacts of sports nowadays on the youth and how money is invested hugely. When you get a footballer being sold to a club for 20 million pounds, how much would you sell a poor sheikh like me to an Islamic center? You would not even give peanuts for that. Subhanallah. The advertisements, the money involved, the publicity, the gambling. No one would want his child to be involved in such corruption. Anisha says, at what extent a wife can disagree with her husband? She can disagree with him as she wishes. See, marriage is not a prison sentence. A man and a wife, they're supposed to live a happy life. So it doesn't matter. This doesn't work, needs electricity, batteries. It doesn't matter whether they disagree or agree, because this is marriage. She disagrees with him when he tells her you have to invite so-and-so friends or relatives. He disagrees with her when she says, I'm gonna cook so-and-so for lunch. They both disagree on what to do with the children and how they should study or what they should study, etc. But at the end of the day, there are things that it's the husband's words that must be taken and respected. She bears a child, she conceives a child, she gives birth. She wants to call the child after her father's name. And the husband says, I respect your father, but I don't like his name. She disagrees with him. who wins? It's not a winning or losing. It's who's entitled to have the final word in naming a child? The father. Full stop. So the man says, no, I'm going to call him so and so. When it comes to allowing her out, she wants to go and visit her sister. He says, no, don't go. She says, I disagree, I'm going. No, you can't. You can't leave the home without his permission. You can't admit someone in his home without his permission. If he orders you to eat zucchini, and you don't like it, you don't eat it. You disagree and say, with all due respect, the hell with you. I'm not going to eat it. This is my life. I eat what I wish, and I don't want to eat this. You can't prevent me from eating what I wish. It's not Simon Says. So there are things that are related to marriage and to the responsibility and authority of the husband, and then there are things that are not. So, and she can disagree with him whenever she wants, and Allah knows best. Final question is from Ashraf. He says, is sunnah to eat salt before or after food? The answer is no. There is no sunnah at all mentioning salt in before or after or during the meal. I don't know where these people get these questions from. Well, we have 4 more questions. What the heck? Let us take it so that we start fresh, inshallah, from next session. Abu Hamza says, what about the animals slaughtered by automatic machine, most especially for those who live in non-Muslim countries? Well, if the animals are put on a converter belt and the guy comes in the morning and pushes a button at 9 o'clock and then pushes it back again at 5 o'clock to turn it off, only the first batch is halal, if he mentioned the name of Allah and if it was slaughtered with a blade. If the machines are set to accommodate for 1,000 chickens at a time, so they place 1,000 chicken, they're in front of me, I'm the one operating the machine, and I say, Bismillah, Allahu Akbar, zzz, and the blades slaughter the chickens, and they're moved into a place to be processed, etc. Then they bring another 1,000, and I say, Bismillah, Allahu Akbar, zzz. This is halal. But if it is something automated, and I just operate it in the beginning, and by itself it comes in, slaughters and goes, nobody says Bismillah, Allahu Akbar before the actual slaughtering, this is not halal. Abdul Rahman Ahmed, is it allowed to eat uncooked meat if the meat itself is halal? Yes. If you take a piece of beef, steak, raw, and you chew it and eat it, something wrong with your head, but it's halal. Like the sushi, when they eat fish, which is raw, some people like to do that, no problem. Can we eat crocodiles? It's an issue of dispute. Some scholars say it's permissible, like I think Sheikh Assim. Other scholars say that it is not permissible, and this is the majority of scholars. I tend to take a position in the middle. So eating the meat is not halal. Using the skin, inshallah, is halal. Allah knows best. Jannatun Naeem says, how do I know if Allah loves me or not? You don't. This is something that only Allah knows. But generally speaking, if you're doing what you're told to do, and you find your heart filled with Allah's love, and you abstain and refrain from anything that is haram or not recommended, and you live according to the book, by the book, 100%, this is a good sign that Allah loves you, because Allah only guides. Allah only guides to Iman those whom He loves, and Allah Azza wa Jal knows best. This is all the time we have until we meet, inshallah Azza wa Jal, next Thursday. I leave you fi amanillah. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.